Hello, everybody. Bill Thornton, SoCalSabre here. Welcome to the 100th episode of Spinning this week. I always used to just call it Spinning, uh, but I've since I did away with that. But it is the 100th episode. What are we going to be talking about in this 100th episode? Music. Good music. I hope that you'll like all of what you're going to see. It's the stuff that I listened to this week from my vinyl, put into my vinyl collections, out of my vinyl collections, or out of my CD collections. So let's get her started here in just 1 second. Okay, first thing I listened to this week was this album by Bachman Turner Overdrive from 1977 titled Freeways. I have one LP, including this one now, and one CD in my collection by BTO. This was the sixth studio album by the Canadian rock band. There's only 8 tracks on this, but several of them are in excess of 5 minutes. Was a lot for back in those days for that. It was the last album that Randy Bachman would be part of BTO until 7 years later when the reunion for BTO Overdrive studio album was made and released in '84. Although these groups, and here we got a nice inner in very good shape. Unfortunately for them, this was the first BTO studio album to become a commercial failure, featuring the first BTO single that did not chart. My wheels won't turn. Wonder what was happening in that. And I didn't really care for it all that much either. All these years later, this is the first time I ever listened to it. So I can see why it happened. And I can agree with it not making the charts. And because of the music, and I do like BTO, because I do have another CD by them, I can only go fair plus on this one. What a poor start to the week, huh? Poor start to my 100th episode. You would have thought that I'd have picked something better, huh? But a lot of the times these are just grab and pulls, from different piles that I have stored throughout different areas of the house. A little sip here. And I'm sure it probably won't get any replay by me. So moving on then. It's a 1968 album in really good shape by The Who. Magic Bus. The Who on tour, it says. Well, that was a little deceiving, and I'll tell you about that in a second. So we have an inner in here. No, we don't. And 11 tracks on here, and in spite of its title, on tour, it's not a live album. To me, that's kind of deceiving because when people are on tour, it's normally their albums are live, but maybe it's just me. I don't know. You guys tell me what you think about whether it's deceiving or not. And it's a compilation album by the English rock band. It was released as the band's fourth album in the United States by Decca, which this one is on. And in September '68 to capitalize on the success of their first single of the same name. This was not issued in the UK, although the album was also released at approximately the same time in Canada. It peaked at number 39 on the Billboard 200 charts. Now, I wonder how many of those people that voted for that or however got to number 39 was because of the deception. Okay, I have 5 LPs, 2 CDs, and a 4 CD box set in my collection by The Who. So it's not like I don't like them. It's just that, and the music was okay on here. It's just that I was expecting live, and it didn't meet my expectations. It might have probably reached a lot of other people's, but not mine. Um, it did include Magic Bus and pictures of Lily. Oh well, it's the Who, but I can only go G because of my what I thought deception. What do you think about that? Let me know. I love to hear some remarks down there. Go down there and hit that like button. And if you're watching and you haven't subscribed yet, help the channel grow. Tell your friends about the channel. Let's try to get this membership up so we can get more exposure out on YouTube and get more people interfacing with us. I would really like that. I really like to hear your comments and so forth. All right, we're going to move on to an album called Earth Shaker by Y&T. It's a short version. They used to be called the full version, Yesterday and Today. And this is their first album with A&M Records. This is the only thing I have in the collection by them. It was part of a Whatnot bundle that I got. Wasn't sure what I was getting. And it's the third studio album by the American heavy metal band. Anybody have metal fans out there familiar with this group? If you are, tell me what you think about them. I like a little bit of metal, but I'm not a big metal fan. That's wrong. I like a little bit of metal, but I'm a fan of metal, but not a big fan of metal. Put that a little bit better. Although this was critically acclaimed around the globe, it did not gain mainstream exposure in America. It's hard rock in nature. It wasn't headbanging. So listening to it was comfortable for me. To me, we're talking about 1981. We're just coming out, post punk and hair metal and all of that stuff. And to me, they sounded just a little bit too much like other groups that in that era. And so I'm going to give it a G plus. I did like some of the stuff on here. I'm going to give it a G plus. That was Earthshaker, the 1981 album by Y&T, formerly Yesterday and Today. So moving along, we haven't had any boomers yet today. Now we're going into a triple album. It's a 2025 remaster. Well, one of them is remastered. This is No Place to Run by UFO. Now look at that. I'm going to tell you a little story. Look at that sticker. It says the 1980. It's a 2025 remaster of the 1980 album. Then it goes on to talk about it being previously unreleased live at the Marquee in London in November of 80. Okay. And it is UFO on a beautiful, beautiful cover. LP1 in here is a remaster of the 1980 album, the H studio album by the English rock band. I found it kind of flat. It didn't seem to me like the vocals were or the instruments were low, they were dull, and one of the songs in particular, when they were mixing, they just faded it out instead of let it play out in this natural order. Yeah. The funny thing is, when I opened this up and I started playing it, I was expecting the live portion of this sticker. I totally looked over the other person. So it's playing, and I'm going, my goodness, there's no clapping, there's no audience. What kind of a live album is this? It wasn't until it was over and I reread the sticker that I realized that the first one was not a live recording. It was just a remaster of it, which if it had been mixed properly, it'd probably been pretty good. But I didn't go very high on liking that one. Okay, then I'll show you the rest of this beautiful album. Then the next two lots of stuff to read on here. Look at this. What a nice production. It has very nice inners in it. A different one for each one. You get this copy of the, this is when they're in the studio and they make notes on here as they do the recording so they can remember what they did with it and so forth. And then on the back of this one's got some more writing. This live portion of this was very good. You know, it was music that was spread out over several of their albums, which I really like when I hear live and they're playing different things. The production of the overall production was VG plus. But because of the remastered 1980 album, I can only go VG on it. In fact, I could probably, yeah, I'm going to go VG plus just because of how the quality of this whole production was. So I'm going to go VG plus on it. I'm going to change it in my note right here. Let me know what you guys think. You guys are UFO fans? Okay, there we go. So that was the 2025 reissue, the remastered reissue of the 1990 or the 1980 album, No Place to Run, in the live performance from in London from 1980, I believe it was. Yes, had me a little bit confused there because when I was reading the list on here, okay, when I was listening like on album number 3, when I go down there and I go, oh, okay, no, number 4, and number 4 it's got a song that says Phil Moog, which is their lead singer, and Michael Schenker. And then the next one, it's got the Pete guy on it. So I was going, they must have been the writers because Schenker was gone by 1980, and so they must have been the writers of the song on there, listed like that. But it had me confused. I was going, well, did they take songs from when Schenker was performing, songs when the other guy was performing, put them all together to make it a live performance? I don't think they would have done that. But so that must have been, what do you call it? The writing credits on there. All right, time to take a couple CDs out of the collection. The first one we're looking at today is number 163. And this is the Chris Isaak album from 1993. I have 3 albums by Chris in my collection. And this was his 4th album. Did not perform as well as the previous album, Heart-Shaped World, but was certified gold, while several of its tracks became longtime staples of Isaac's live set. San Francisco Days was the last of the feature guitarist James Calvin Wilsey, who had been a member of the band since its formation. And the album was dedicated to the memory of Louis Beeson, who was the sound consultant. There's the tracks. It was mellow, and I did like it because it was somewhat bluesy in places, and overall I liked it pretty well. But I'm going to go on up a G plus for the week. That must be my low ranking week on my 100th edition. So that was San Francisco Days by Chris Isaak from 1993. The next one, I don't know why I bought it, to tell you the truth. It's on number 164. It's the Anthology by the Babies. This is 1985. It's the only thing I have in the collection by them. So I must have really been drawn to one of their songs on here. I don't know, maybe it was one of their hits like Every Time I Think of You or one of the other ones, to pick it up because I don't have anything else by them. And the album charted at number 180 or 138 on the Billboard 200. And it's their greatest hits collection spanning the years 1976 to 1980. Best known for their songs, Isn't It Time? And Every Time I Think of You. That's probably the one that drew me to this album. Both songs were composed by Jack Conrad and Ray Kennedy, and each reached number 13 on the Billboard Hot 100s and number 8 on the Cashbox charts in the late 70s. And then what I thought was funny was both of those songs that were hits, to me, musically, when they started musically, they sounded the same. Until I got a couple bars in, and then it did change. But the beginning, I thought I was listening to the same song for a second there. I didn't show you Chris Isaak CD either, did I? This is the Babies, just plain. My son said I didn't like it or not, because it is a pretty nice one. Let me show you Chris Isaak's. Go backwards a little bit. Yeah, pretty nice production there. So I don't know why I thought, because I don't know why I bought this, but it didn't really ring a bell with me. So I can only go G on this one also today. Wow. What a week, huh? At the end, I got to pick two that I like the most out of here, which I will do, and let you know what they were. So the last is an album that the other albums were the first time into the collection. This one's been in the collection for quite a while. It's number 88 in my album collection. And it's the 1978 album, The Gambler by Kenny Rogers. This was the 6th studio album by him. And you got to remember, you got to know when to hold them and know when to fold them. That song, The Gambler, along with the song She Believes in Me, both of them became hits for him. And both of them were hits for me also. But overall, the whole album is pretty good. I have 6 LPs and 1 CD in my collection by Kenny Rogers. Now, a lot of you say, "Wow, this guy's got heavy metal. He's got country." There are some country singers that I did like. I call them country crossover, where their songs would cross over into the pop or the rock sessions. Kenny Rogers was one of those guys. There's a few others like that too. I like some Johnny Cash. I like some Willie Nelson, Johnny Lee. Okay, this was one of his most popular and established him as one of the most successful artists of the 70s and 80s. It reached far markets. It went out to Japan, Korea, Europe, and everything. It never charted, but it sold 5 million copies. For a country, supposedly a country, it's good. That's funny that Discogs has it classified as rock, folk rock, or folk country. that, that's kind of strange. All right, there's no inner on this one. It's probably one of them paper sleeves that I threw away with when I was redoing this one. Nice label. It's in good shape. The title track, The Gambler, was written by Don Schlitz, who was the first to record it. It was also covered by several other artists, but Kenny Rogers' adaptation of The Tale went to the top of the country charts and won Rogers a Grammy in 1980 for the best male vocal performance. So, I didn't even write this. You know, I'm actually going to go VG on it because I did like it over some of the other stuff. All right. So that was, what did I say it was? The Gambler by Kenny Rogers from 1978. Well, it's time for me to pick two that I like the most. Okay, we're going up here. I am going to pick No Place to Run 3 LP set by UFO is one of them. Looking at my other notes here. No. The last pick would have either been, believe it or not, San Francisco Days or The Gambler, and I am actually going to go with The Gambler this week. That brought back memories, especially the song She Believes in Me brought back a lot of memories, like a lot of the old songs do. Something happened in my life anyway. Well, that was it for this week, the 100th edition. I hope you enjoyed this. Please put some comments down there. Let me know what you liked and didn't like, okay? SoCalSabre, take care of yourselves. Be kind to each other. Stay safe.